Hello, I'm Pastor Travis from A Faithful Dad. We are going through a family guide to joy in all circumstances. This is the chapter 6, the second video of the chapter 6, which is joy in the death of a loved one. And our centering statement from last week that we shared, Jesus knew joy because he promised in the death of a loved one. This episode is specifically entitled Bringing Comfort to Those Who've Experienced the Death of a Loved One. You know, wherever Jesus went, he was teaching, he was guiding, he was praying, he was loving, he was coming alongside people. And one of the most tender examples is in the chapter of John 11 with the death of Lazarus. Jesus comes alongside Mary and Martha and just is with them, the ministry of presence, soothing words, praying with them, and even weeping with them. The shortest verse of the entire Bible, John 11:35, Jesus wept. You know, in my journey to joy, I find I'm oftentimes wrapped up in myself, too worried with my own grief to be able to share true Christ-like love. And let me give you an example. As I shared in A Faithful Dad's Guide to Legacy, our previous guide, about my father Smoke's untimely passing to frontotemporal complications from frontotemporal dementia, where it basically ate his brain out. He was dead within 3 years of diagnosis, just horrific. My mom, my brother, and I all agreed it was the worst trauma we'd ever seen. Mostly my dad, obviously, him having to endure it. You know, and after death, it was almost like this tornado, this spinning tornado came into a house, and that house was our lives, and it just caused this amazing wreaking havoc, damage, and all of a sudden it was gone, and so was Dad. And for me, there was for me personally, I can only speak to myself, but there was such a sense of relief is seeing Dad suffer. And now he's relieved, and here's where I misstepped. Thinking that my mom might have the same feelings. I said, "Hey, Mom, isn't it great that Dad? It's awful that Dad was suffering, but now he's been healed. He's in heaven with Jesus Christ forever. We can rejoice in this. This is happy news." And on the other end was silence. See, I had misread the situation. Here I'm trying to pass off my own grief, to move beyond my grief. That I so much that I look past Mom, her husband, my dad, and that was not the kindest thing to say. And I still regret that. My mom forgave me, but a lot of times, one of the takeaways here is that, and I'm going to share that in lesson learned number 54, is to have that ministry of presence, to be there, and not to be so quick to rush through your own grief. Lesson learned 54 says this: in comforting someone who's lost a loved one, avoid being either too joyous or too morose. Allow God to guide you in that tricky middle ground. That brings comfort and joy that's both real and helpful. That's the best way to comfort those who've experienced the death of a loved one. In Jesus' name.